the night before Christmas, and all through the ship, not a sensor was flashing, not even a blip. When there was a huge crash to the bridge, I then ran, and thereupon St. Nicholas with joystick in hand. With Atari's Miss Pac-Man, he gobbled and scored. Then on to Jungle Hunt, he played till he roared. From out of his sack, he pulled dozens of games, all the great ones from Atari, our favorite names. Before I could thank him, he beamed out of sight. With a Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Hello, welcome to Atari Bytes, the show where we take a bite out of the story within a classic Atari 2600 game and see if that story bites us back. My name is Bill, this is episode 322. Thanks for listening. Ding dong, ding dong. Ding dong, ding dong. We're simply having a wonderful Christmas time. It is Christmas Day, for goodness sakes, as this episode is going out. Did my ding dongs put you in the Christmas spirit? Don't answer that. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays to you and yours. I hope whatever you're celebrating right now is to your liking and that you're having a peaceful and prosperous holiday season as we close out the year 2022. We're doing something a little different with this episode. As always, the last episode of the year is a special one. We put away the game console, we roll up the parchment, we lay down our quill pen that we use to write the stories every episode, and we just try to kick back and watch a movie. Not just any movie, a movie that inspired or was inspired by one of the games that we played during the year. This year, the game was No Escape from episode 316, which was a version, supposedly, of the Jason and the Golden Fleece story from ancient Greek mythology. Guess I can kind of see that? I don't know. Go back and listen to the episode. I can see it if I squint really hard and take a lot of cold medicine first. I don't know. Speaking of things that would be improved by being stoned, with that inspiration in mind, there could only be one movie that we would possibly watch for this episode, and that movie is Dumb and Dumber. Just kidding. We're of course watching, inspired by Jason and the Golden Fleece, we have to watch Jason and the Argonauts, the 1963 adventure film about ancient Greek gods and goddesses and the hero Jason on a quest to find the Golden Fleece. The film is mostly famous for using legendary Ray Harryhausen's special effects. All of that, stop-motion animation and stuff. How special are these effects? Pretty damn special, actually. But don't just take my word for it. How about the word of Jeff Fulton, one half of the duo of Jeff and Steve Fulton, hosts of the peerlessly classy Into the Verticial Blank podcast. Just asked him. He's on the show today. Well, okay, the show's actually pre-recorded, so you can't ask him. But he is on the show, and he and I sat down and kind of walked through the plot of Jason and the Argonauts and shared what we thought about it. So, after this break, while the kids and the in-laws fight over the broken toys and the Yule logs, let Jeff and me tell you about that thing that is the legendary 1963 film, Jason and the Argonauts. Pass the NyQuil eggnog, will you?
Now, from the makers of Sinbad, Columbia Pictures presents Jason and the Argonauts. The mightiest band of warriors the world has ever known.
Turn back, Jason! We're trapped!
Sailing to the ends of the earth, battling against an incredible number of obstacles.
Where will you find this miracle?
I have heard there is a tree at the end of the world, with a fleece of gold hanging in its branches.
In search of the fabulous magic Golden Fleece, Jason and the Argonauts, caught in the clutches of the towering bronze giant Talos, battered by treacherous falling rocks, taming vulturous harpies, facing the dreaded seven-headed Hydra, battling the merciless army of skeletons. Jason and the Argonauts, the classic story of Jason, a man who challenged the gods. Medea, a temple dancer who betrayed a kingdom for love. The Argonauts, the mightiest band of warriors the world has ever known. Jason and the Argonauts, a classic adventure story brought to the screen through the incredible special effects magic of Dinorama. Jason and the Argonauts, the search that became a legend.
I'm not rich or famous. I'm not a movie star, rock icon, first responder, nurse, doctor, or anybody else whom we all look up to. I'm just a schnook. Just like Bill, I love to tell stories. Unlike Bill, though, I'm not creative enough to write my own, so I just tell my own real-life stories in this book read by the author style podcast. All about life lessons, growing up, and every episode a segment about music. Music that I love, artists that I admire, and sometimes even my own music. You can find Autobiography of a Schnook on all your favorite podcast suppliers, or you can go to schnookpodcast.com. That's SCHNOOK podcast.com. And I firmly believe the good goes around, and I sincerely hope that Autobiography of a Schnook proves to be some good that goes around your way.
Okay, everybody, as promised, your holiday gift this year is our friend Jeff has dropped by on this merriest of days. Jeff, as you might know, this episode is going out on Christmas Day.
On Christmas Day?
Yeah.
Actually, anybody who hears this, a treat for you would be to open up your Crackle app and watch this movie on Christmas. This is a great movie, just to start out. But anyway, go on.
It is. Not very Christmassy, I guess. But, you know, if you're tired of the family...
It's actually, it's actually full of the old gods. Heretics might like this movie on Christmas Day.
Sure. And it's a movie for the whole family. So
it is.
If you're sick of talking to each other on the holiday, you can sit down and watch this movie for a little bit. Before we get going here too much, and most people listening to the show know who you are, I would guess, but the few people who don't, who are you?
I am Jeff Fulton. I've been playing Atari since I was 5, and I'm 52 now, so I've been playing Atari for a long time. And for a long time, I did lots of different Atari things, had all the different consoles, although never really shied away from Atari, all the way through the Jaguar. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, my brother and I, after having multiple websites about Atari and things like that, we started a podcast called Into the Verticial Blank, where my brother gets to write all his stories and I get to edit them. And then we also talk a lot of, not just stories, we talk a lot about all the Atari consoles and sort of what growing up in the 80s was like, and not just playing the games, but sort of what it means to be a child of that generation. All in the context of Atari, really, because it kind of is a focus.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming by. Are you a movie guy? Are you a film buff?
Oh, I love movies, but I have a history of watching movies on, Sunday afternoons in the 70s and 80s, right? And going to the movies, and I have all the streaming services. So I watched a lot of movies, but I had never seen this one. I saw, what is the weird 80s movie that has Jason in it, but it's not this movie? Like Clash of the Titans. So I always get this movie confused with Clash of the Titans, not even close to being the same movie. This movie is 100 times better than Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, I'm sure I saw Clash of the Titans, although I don't remember much about it. And like you, I had never seen this one either. It's famous, this movie, Jason and the Argonauts, but mostly I think because of Ray Harryhausen.
Yes. Ray,
but I'd never seen it.
I'm the producer. So Ray did all the special effects, right?
Yes.
And the producer of this movie, Charles Schneer, did all kinds of movies like this. So I think it's a catalog to look at, these two guys, and see what they did.
Yeah. I'm about the same age as you. We're a little young to have seen this movie, obviously.
No.
We're too young to have seen this movie when it came out. But I can imagine being 10 years old in 1963 and you go to the Saturday matinee and probably be blown away by this movie.
This might have been their Star Wars, I'm telling you. Because, I mean, not like, well, I guess not Star Wars, because Star Wars changed everything because it was space. But this would have been your epic movie. It's not a serial. It's not cheesy. It is, what is this? What is the width of this screen? 1:37:1. It is a wide screen. This movie is, and it looks beautiful in HD on streaming too. So
Absolutely.
this is.
I suppose I should back up for a second and tell people what we're talking about. I said already. Jason and the Argonauts. That's what we're watching. It's from 1963, directed by Don Chaffee, produced by Columbia Pictures, a Charles Schneer production. You said that. Ray Harryhausen, creator of the special effects for the movie. We'll talk about him, I suppose, in a minute or two. He has a long pedigree, very famous pioneer of stop motion animation. Has his footprint in a lot of movies like this in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and this is one of them. It's an hour and 44 minutes for anyone keeping track. I don't know if our conversation will be an hour and 44 minutes, but that's how long the movie is. And in summary, the movie is about Jason. He's an ancient Greek, and he's played by a guy named Tom Armstrong, who I know nothing about. He sets sail with his crew, his Argonauts, and they battle harpies and bronze statues, and they're on a quest to get the golden fleece and bring it back to, where do they live? Thessaly, right?
Thessaly, right.
But we'll get into all that here in a minute. It's got adventure, it's got drama, it's got a love story, I guess. It's got everything. So any more preamble, any stuff you want to get into before we get into the movie?
It's an interesting mix of fiction and Greek mythology. So they took some Greek mythology. It very closely follows certain pieces of Greek mythology, but it changes some things. I don't know for the better or worse, but it changes some things along the way.
Yeah.
Very interesting. We always heard of these sort of adventures of Jason, maybe you heard about Hercules or Ulysses, and these kind of all meld together a little bit, because I remember a game called Ulysses and the Golden Fleece. Ulysses is nowhere to be found in this movie. But it's interesting. It's like you said, if you're a 60s kid, if I was in the 60s, this would have been my favorite movie this year, or maybe for the entire 60s. Like being the nerdy 60s kid I would have been.
Absolutely. I mentioned Todd Armstrong. Medea is played by Nancy Kovac. Gary Raymond plays somebody who I didn't write down here. Lawrence Naismith. Those are the big stars of the movie. I really was hoping I would know some of those people. I don't recognize any of them, frankly.
Yeah, I only recognize so Hera, who I don't have the actress's name, which I should have right here. Hera is played by, I'm going to find this because I'm sorry, I had it written down, no, it's missing.
Oh, here we go. I have the cast list right here. Hera is played by Honor Blackman.
Okay, well, that's right. So Honor Blackman, two ladies in this movie, absolutely beautiful. Like they knew what they were doing.
Oh,
Honor Blackman, I think, passed away, but there's Jason has a love interest in this movie later, and she's still alive. But they did a good job. There's a little I'm going to say it this way. There's a little MILF action with Hera. She seems to have a crush on Jason, and she's married to Zeus. I think she's married to Zeus.
Yes.
So there's some. Anyway, it's an interesting story of the gods playing with the mortals in this one. There's a lot of interplay. If you're a kid today watching these special effects, you might laugh at them. You might laugh at these concepts. Back then, these were pretty state of the art. And so it's like watching this week was very much like, how come I've never seen this before?
The movie does do a nice job of showing that it's really the gods just messing with these people. They're literally playing a game.
Almost like trading places. They bet $1.
Yeah.
Right. To see who would get the golden fleece.
Fun bit of trivia here. I just pulled this up. Honor Blackman was Pussy Galore in Goldfinger.
Oh, okay. Yes, I
had totally forgotten. And she died at age 94 in 2020, not that long ago.
And later on, we will meet Nancy Kovac, who plays Medea. She comes in the last third of the movie.
Yep.
She's kind of a hero love interest to Jason. And she reminded me a lot of the woman who played Catwoman on Batman. Doesn't look exactly the same. Just reminded me, like, has sort of that. She purrs when she talks. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, she had Eartha Kitt, right?
Eartha Kitt, right? Eartha
and then
Kitt.
there was somebody else though too.
There was another one after Eartha Kitt.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the 60s. The 60s. This is the 60s aesthetic we're going for here, which is like the women all purred when they saw Jason. Anyway,
the movie opens. You got your epic music. You got your credits. I think that there's paintings on the wall behind the credits. I think it's supposed to be telling the story that we're about to see, but it's kind of hard to see them through the credits.
A lot of money was spent on these backdrops. A lot, yes. and the whole thing filmed in Italy. First, I said, okay, wait, I live in Southern California. This kind of looks familiar. Maybe they stuck a boat out, in the beach near Palos Verdes, which is downstream. Nope, whole thing filmed in. This is a lot of money was spent on this production.
Oh, there's a lot of great shots of beautiful blue water and they're out there on the ocean, and it looks gorgeous. Oh, but I read something somewhere. The budget for this movie was $2.5 million.
Yeah, that's what equivalent to $750 million in CGI today. My math is a little off, but very close.
I mean, I guess when we're at the end here, we can talk about whether the special effects actually work or not. I guess I have thoughts, but we'll get to that. In a minute. So the movie starts, we see a soldier. We don't know who he is yet, walking around. Then we see an older guy carrying a pot of ashes. That's right. And he places the ashes on the fire, I guess. And the other guy walks up to him and he's like, well, and we find out this guy's name is Peleus.
Peleus, right.
Right. I had trouble with the names, frankly, because they're all kind of similar. And I'm not an expert on Greek mythology. So in my notes, I have different things written,
There are all
Peleus,
these,
I think, right?
Fantastic Greek names that I can't pronounce, and then we get Jason. Turns out Jason is a Greek name. I didn't know that. I looked it up.
Yeah, that always threw me, even in school when we were learning Greek mythology. Really, Jason? Okay.
So we're gonna basically going to murder all the names of places, but that's okay. I mean, I probably will. You may not.
Are there any experts on Greek mythology listening? You're not gonna. We're not going to give anybody a Greek mythology lesson here. I don't think.
We're not going to be teaching anyone anything. Let's put it that way.
So this guy, he's a seer. He's a prophet. Do we know his name? We must, but I didn't write it in my notes.
At the beginning, I don't have it written down.
Maybe we don't know his name, but
it could. He may be of going to the Oracle at Delphi, something like that. Right? Let's just consider it's like an oracle. He's an oracle.
He's an oracle, exactly. So he rubs some ashes on his hands, and that's his way. He's getting a vision or a prophecy, and he's like, Zeus, the king of the gods of the Greeks, write in the ashes that I may read the future. And basically, what he's predicting is what he's seeing is there's a great tree at the end of the world. On which hangs the skin of a ram. First time I wrote my notes, I thought he said skin of a rat. But it's a ram. Prize of the gods, the golden fleece. So then Peleus doesn't really care about that. He just wants to know what's going to happen tonight.
Right.
Because something big is going down. And the oracle predicts that King Arresto will be conquered. And that's what Peleus is after. He wants to overthrow the king.
I think the king, Arresto, is his either brother or half brother too. They don't go into it very much.
Okay.
In the original myths, because this is all myth, it's not historical. King Arresto is his half brother.
Oh, okay. I missed that part. That makes sense though, because I didn't feel like they were really explained.
Become king, I guess, if he must be some lineage there. He didn't just usurp.
I assume it'd be he wanted to wipe out the kids too, right? Because
he didn't want the kids he's got the lineage out there, so he's got to get rid of all of his children.
Okay, well that makes sense because I never really totally understood what Peleus's beef with Arresto was, but I guess it's nothing just more than power. He just wants to be king. So
just power, right?
And then there's some stuff about how I'm not going to need my sword if Zeus is protecting me.
That was weird.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Because later he has his sword.
Yeah, you should always have your sword. That's just good
of course. The sword is a must. But he says it, and then he almost acts like he's not going to use his sword because Zeus will protect him. And then when he's there, he's using the sword. I guess he decided that he needed his sword. I mean, it was weird. It's one of the notes I had here. It's like strange.
I didn't get it. Other than maybe to emphasize the point that Zeus protects everybody or something. I don't know. It doesn't really matter because the oracle says, well, it's not really going to matter because you're going to win today, but eventually his kid is going to take it back. And then Peleus is like, well, and the king has no children. So basically he's going to kill all the kids. And the man's like, well, he has 2 daughters and a son. And Peleus is going to kill them too. Cut to the big coup, the big fight. And there's lots of sword fighting. We see a woman holding a screaming baby.
This seemed, with how this was filmed, it seemed a little bit, you know how when Harry Potter's filmed and you can't really tell what's going on because there's too many things going on in the castle? That's what this was like. Like, I'm kind of trying to figure out what's going on. And then you got the woman and the baby. And I'm like, son, baby. Okay, anyway. It took a little while to get there.
It took a minute for me too. I think the Oracle actually stops some soldiers from going into the temple because this is a moment for Peleus to fulfill his prophecy or whatever. Right. I think there's a quick shot of one of the soldiers grabbing the other baby, Jason, I assume, to save him. The woman, the baby that she's holding, she places in the arms of a statue of Hera, asks Hera to protect the baby and her sister and herself while she's at it. Peleus approaches, asks if she's the daughter of Arresto. That's the king, right? Arresto?
Right, yes.
But then another woman shows up, and she's like, be silent. She is in pain, her sister and her murdered father. So this woman apparently is one of Arresto's kids.
The reason she goes to the statue of Hera is the Greek goddess of women in childbirth.
Yes, thank you.
So what happens is, and I'm not going to tell. I'm saying, so she brings it there because she's hoping that Hera will save this baby, and the baby is Jason. I'm pretty sure. I think because
is that baby Jason?
That's baby Jason. The reason is baby Jason. That's what Hera now is protecting Jason.
Okay.
For the rest of the movie.
Okay, well that makes sense. Yes, that makes more sense. My notes were wrong earlier, so that was.
Well, I'm just saying this was convoluted. I had to watch it. I had to watch that for Albany twice because it's a lot of stuff's going on.
Yeah. No, I watched it twice also. I watched it actually just this morning. So there's some back and forth between this other woman and Peleus. Peleus is like is wondering if Hera heard this woman's prayer.
Yes, she seemed to be another seer or something, like some sort of a soothsayer or whatever.
I wrote priestess. I think he was calling her a priestess, but yes, I don't know what the difference is. And the priestess or seer or whatever is like, yes, Hera has heard this woman's prayer. And Peleus is like, well, okay, well then pray for me. And he kills the woman, not the priestess, the daughter of the king.
He kills the daughter.
The priestess is like, well, you've gotten a kingdom, but your guards are going to abandon you eventually, and a one-sandaled man eventually will come and kill you, which I thought...
It was a very strange... I was thinking a lot of the one-armed man from...
Exactly, and it couldn't... it couldn't be a guy, a bald guy, a guy with a beard.
One-sandaled dude.
One sandal. I mean, everybody at some point in this era is wearing just one sandal.
Right.
You catch him like in the middle of getting dressed. Oh, he must be the guy who's going to kill me. But anyway, so that's the prophecy.
It's a wide swath of one-sandaled people could be the and so then it's this is the part it's a little convoluted. The story is a little convoluted.
I mean,
the action's better than the story. Let's put it that way.
It is. Yeah, we're not really doing the justice. It is. I will say it is a kind of a fun movie to watch.
Yeah.
I did, not to spoil anything from my comments at the end, I had a good time watching it. So. Yeah. Definitely. But our breakdown here maybe isn't doing it justice. So we find out, or she says something like, well, Jason has escaped. Someone's gotten the baby's is alive. Baby's safe. Oh, actually, no, somebody tells him that later. My notes aren't clear here. Is that the Oracle who tells him later?
That Jason's got away. Yes. Yeah. The Oracle tells him Jason's got away. So and this is his whole, this is sort of his legacy is going to be ruined here. Yeah. And so he's like, he did this whole setup to take his brother's kingdom, and this one sandaled man and this baby are going to ruin his whole thing. And he's really mad that this guy didn't tell him all of that to begin with. Right. The other Oracle guy, the guy at the beginning. Right. Yeah. Exactly. And there's some jazz about how, well, it's not going to do you any good to kill Jason. If you kill Jason, you kill yourself. They talk like this through the whole movie. Now we actually get to see Mount Olympus. Yes. Zeus and Hera are watching all this, and they have a little back and forth. Hera's given Zeus a hard time about basically setting up these events. Right. And Zeus is like, stay in your lane, woman, basically. He's like, there was quite a bit of that This
among the
whole
gods,
movie is quite a bit of that, right? Exactly. But he wants her to stay in her lane. Don't worry about this. This is my thing I got going on with these people. And she came to me, woman with the baby.
Yeah.
I'm gonna protect him. And what does Zeus say? Do you remember what Zeus says?
Zeus said, "Oh, it's iconic here." He says something to the effect of, "No, Hera, you protect the women. The rest of that is man's work."
Right, exactly.
There was a lot of that in this movie.
And then I think Hera, we don't get it, but there's like a wink. I think she's withholding sexual favors until he says, "Okay, you can help the kid 5 times."
Yeah,
that's the number of times that the mom had prayed to her.
That's certainly the undertone there. So yeah, so they set up this thing about how Zeus is like, "Okay, how many times have the women asked you for help?"
Right.
And somehow she knows it's exactly 5 times.
Yes.
And Zeus is like, "Okay, then you can help Jason on his quest to overthrow the king 5 times, and that's it." And then they talk about how, well, Jason's a baby now; he won't be a man until he's 20, which is just an instant on Mount Olympus.
Yeah, it's an instant. They don't have any real concept of time. Oh well, they have concept of time, but to them, it's 20 years later in the next scene, which is to us too, I guess.
It's an instant for us, exactly. So now it's 20 years later. Peleus, I was thrown at first because the first moment I didn't realize it was Peleus.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh, okay, I see what's going on. Hera shows up, appears, freaks out the horse. Peleus falls off the horse. Jason happens to be walking by and saves him because Peleus starts to drown in the water.
So at this point in the story, I supposedly Hera this is convoluted because I think the myth is actually better than this, but maybe they want to set up this conflict early with Peleus and Jason, because Jason's now a young dude, 20. Peleus he's probably in his 50s now. And so Hera kind of makes it look like Peleus pushes his horse, makes Peleus look like he can't swim, and he falls down, and then wants Jason to save him so she can prove that Jason's worthy of helping. In the myth, Hera just makes herself look like an old woman, and Jason helps her, and then she decides she's worthy. I don't know which one's better. Maybe this is better for filmmaking because it puts these two characters together earlier. Because Peleus now, he's proven that he will save this old man by dog paddling. By the way, no one in this movie can swim. Anyway, everybody dog paddles. I think it's because they're actually walking in the ocean or wherever they are, and they have to make it look like they're swimming.
I hadn't even noticed that, but I think you're right. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, he saves Peleus, and Peleus brings him back to his awesome party at his kingdom.
Well, first though, Peleus notices that the guy who saved him is only wearing one sandal.
Wearing one sandal. Now, how many other one sandal people could he have met in the last 20 years? Could have been just this one.
He's probably killed a lot of guys.
He's probably killed a lot of one-sandaled guys. Right, yeah, exactly.
So he tells him, yeah, exactly. He tells him, "I owe you my life. Here, come with me." And they go back to this guy's camp. It's interesting how Jason doesn't clue in on the fact that this guy must be Peleus, because camp is amazing. And everyone's bowing down to him. And I get they may have never seen him, but I would think he'd figure it out.
So they comes back to the camp. That it's funny because the camp is basically like a 60s party, not a Greek, not really. I mean, kind of Greek. They kind of mixed it in, but it's basically like people dancing and singing, and it kind of looked like it, very much of the 60s. Let's put it that way, like a very much of the 60s party.
Absolutely. And we get the first of 2 extended sequences of watching women dance.
Oh, yeah, this is a lot of good dancing in this movie.
There are 2 long scenes of that sort of stuff. And then, the king puts an end to that. The guy's like, "Well, you haven't told me your name." And Jason says, I'm Jason, the lawful king of Thessaly."
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't make a secret of it at all.
No, he's the king.
Everyone kind of stops and stares at him. And Jason quickly explains for us, I guess, that one of his father's soldiers rescued him and raised him. And now I've come back to claim my throne. And the guy's like, "Well, I've been waiting for you." So I guess he kind of reveals himself right there, right?
Only kind of, though, because he doesn't say he wants him to. Well, he gives him a task to do, but this whole thing seems to be set up as like Jason is Jack in Three's Company, never knowing what's happening behind this. There's always a missing pot or someone who thinks he might be gay. That's not in this movie, but I'm just saying in general, like they're not. This whole movie is kind of set up, or there's a whole bunch of things where someone's just not saying the thing that they should be saying. A little inconsistencies or things that are unknown. So, we're getting closer to sort of 60s and 70s comedies where they just left out a piece for one player, and that's why they don't know what's going on.
Exactly. So, Jason is he's on this quest. He wants to earn his place on the throne. Peleus has turned everything to crap, basically.
And Peleus has a dude that's hanging out with him who's giving him these things. It turns out the dude hanging out with him is Hermes. And Hermes isn't just a guy that makes men's clothing. Hermes actually is a god himself, and he decides he's going to uncloak himself and show Jason what it's like, what the gods, take Jason to meet the gods at Mount Olympus. He doesn't actually go to Mount Olympus. He goes to the most hilarious chessboard I've ever seen.
For 1963, I thought the effect of this guy turning into Hermes and transporting Jason up to Mount Olympus, I thought all that worked pretty well.
It's all state of the art. Like, you can't say they didn't go outrageously on the budget for these things, especially this too.
Good old Ray knew what he was doing, I guess. So they have this little back and forth. Jason says something about how I wouldn't have believed a mortal could ask the help of the gods, much less visit them. Zeus kind of gets right to the point and asks Jason if he wants a ship and some soldiers to help him. And Jason's like, "Nah, I can get that myself."
And Zeus is like, "What?"
Zeus is stunned at that.
His whole thing, because the whole thing to Zeus is a game. Like, he's got his game board. When Jason shows up, he's on the world board that they look at as down from Mount Olympus. And it's just a game to Zeus. And Zeus is like, "What, you won't take my toys?" Like, he wants to give Jason a ship.
And once the initial shock is over, Jason's really not fazed by any of this. He's
No.
I'm going to appeal to the good hearts of men, and I'm going to form this group, and we're gonna do what we need to do.
The gods are.
When did they talk about the
want
fleece?
to help the least? Oh, they talk about that. So basically, at some let me go through. I'll read my notes I have here, and we'll see which ones fit in. Okay, so you can edit. I know it's going to be a big edit job. I apologize. Okay. So what I have here is Hermes takes Jason to Mount Olympus to speak with Zeus and Hera. Hera tells him that Zeus has decreed that she can only help him 5 times. He learns that then. This is the same number of times that Jason's murdered mother, they give her name now. Jason's murdered sister. Was this his sister? Oh, yes.
That'd be right. Yeah, that was his sister.
Because the sister had brought him back. Bresis, whose name is Bresis, or Breseries, called on Hera for protection. She directs him to search for the fleece in the land of Colchis, or maybe Colchis, I think it is.
Colchis, I think,
Zeus offers him aid, but Jason declines. So that was, and Jason is too thick to know that Hermes is actually himself when Hermes brings him up. Zeus says, "The gods are helped by those who want help the least." And then suddenly, when we're back from, and then we come back to that. So at that point, during that discussion, Hera tells him that he needs to look for the fleece in Colchis. So she's the only Colchis. She's the only one who tells him. Zeus is being very coy with all the information. In that discussion, Zeus doesn't want to tell him anything. I don't even think he wants him to have the golden fleece. This is a game to him, like we're saying. To her, it's important that he has it. We think.
Yeah, Zeus can't believe that he offered him to give him a ship and a crew, and Jason refused. Shocking. So now we're back on Earth, I guess, and Jason he's recruiting his crew.
Not only is he recruiting, so I think this on Crackle, we can't tell where there's commercials, but I think this would have been a commercial break. And it comes back from once we're with the gods, suddenly we're like in like a homoerotic, like a lot of glistening half-naked men. They're all tanned in 60s sort of buff, because it's not like buff now, it's 60s buff, right? It's different.
Yeah.
There's a different aesthetic. And they're all playing games, and they would have been doing this naked. But they're not doing it naked for this. And and what Jason's doing is trying to find men to get in his crew. And so that's
So they're wrestling and they're swimming and they have archery contests. And it turns out one of these guys is Hercules, who's I recall.
And I don't know if I'm supposed to say homoerotic anymore, by the way. I have no idea. I might be canceled for saying homoerotic.
I don't know what the right term is, but that works.
It does work because it was. I was kind of like, hey, anyway, no.
So Hercules is one of the guys. If I remember it, Hercules is not fully human, right? Is he half god?
Hercules is half Hercules is half. His father is Zeus and his mother is immortal. Yeah.
So did Zeus plant him there to help?
No, no, I don't. Well, we don't know that. Let me see.
I mean, he participates in the competition, but if he's Zeus's son,
they all know who Hercules. All these guys know who Hercules is. So it does not say in the notes that I have whether in the real story. I don't know how much this part is actually real. I know everyone looked for the fleece. Hercules would have been on a different journey at this point. He does show up as part of his other journey, and later in the movie we learn that Zeus has other ideas for Hercules and moves him off to do something else. And I think this is just a small portion of Hercules' journey. So something else happens in this movie. May have been that they were going to do a sequel or something. Didn't get to it. I don't know. They didn't focus on that story. But yeah, Hercules is here, and I don't think he's put there by Zeus. I think it's just everybody knows Hercules is there. I think they're coming back from a battle. It might have been between the Trojans and the Greeks. Don't know at this
okay point. There's a nice little bit where Hylas, is that his name, the younger guy,
is I think I have it spelled probably close to have you spelled, but I'm not sure.
Hylas.
I call him Hylas. I don't know if that's his name.
I think you might be right, actually. Yeah. Challenges Hercules to challenges him, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Hercules actually picks what they're going to do, right? The discus throw.
Yes, and it's the most hilarious discus throw thing I've ever seen. And Hylas has the best idea.
I can't tell how far are they throwing this thing. It's pretty far.
It's to an island, so it must be really far. But so they have a discus throwing contest across the Mediterranean, and Hercules throws it.
No problem for him, of course. Hylas, I guess, the idea is he doesn't have the same strength, so he's trying to use his brain, I guess, is the idea, right? So
right. Yes, he's smart.
But he still chucks that thing way out there.
He does. He chucks it like skipping a rock instead of just trying to fall out there. Now, me, if I'm throwing a rock across the pond or I'm trying to skip it, I bet I could throw it further than I could skip it, maybe. But I think anyway, Hylas, his idea is smart. I can't beat Hercules' strength. I beat him with my wits, and he beats him. He gets it further by skipping the discus.
I mean, I guess my thought is he still needed quite a bit of strength to even do what he did, really, didn't he? Maybe not.
No, he did. I mean, he has strength there, but I don't think there's as much
he's
strength
not as strong.
That's all. Right.
So it's just a nice little thing. I guess it's a bonding moment for these two guys because they end up being buddies.
Right. And one thing I forgot to mention, maybe we can insert this later, is that the entire Zeus Hera thing with the people doing this and they're sort of organizing or watching this happen, completely Twilight Zone. Like every Twilight Zone episode is basically like the gods, not everyone, gods playing with the men or aliens putting the men in. It's a cookbook, whatever. It's totally like this. So there's a 60s aesthetic here going on with sort of men, the like immortal beings playing or someone outside the system playing with man. And that's kind of what's happening here.
Exactly.
And Hercules being half god, he thinks he's doing the same thing, and so Hylas shows him that you don't have to just be brawn; smarts can help too.
We get a little bit of foreshadowing. Zeus makes a comment like, "Let Hylas have his moment of triumph while he may." I missed that line the first time I watched the movie. Actually, I just caught it the second time. So now it's time to get a ship.
Right.
Jason goes and meets up with Argus on this really nice-looking ancient Greek ship. Jason decides he's going to call the ship the Argo, named after Argus. Argus seems very touched by that.
Yes.
He's proud of his work. So there's this little bit about the figurehead, the statue thing that usually goes on the front of the ship, the bow, because it's supposed to protect the ship, from what's coming. But on this one, the figurehead is at the stern, the back of the ship.
Right.
And Argus is like, well, I just felt compelled to do that. Do you want me to move it? And Jason's like, no, leave it there. Because it turns out it's Hera. It's
and Hera wants to watch over the men. I think she wants to watch the men, really, is what I'm thinking.
Well,
she's a total cougar, complete cougar. And so she wants to watch the guys row, basically, and watch over them. I know she's watching over them.
Yes. And it's a lovely statue and everything, but then it opens its freaking eyes. And that freaked me out because it's creepy looking.
She's great. She reminds me in Clash of Titans when they had that weird metal, was it an owl or some sort of bird it was like almost a robot, like Let's Be Like Star Wars. It kind of reminded me how creeped out I was by that. Because, when you're watching Star Wars and it's like, C-3PO and R2-D2, great. Well, it's a weird bird. Anyway, so this it was kind of creepy. I thought she wanted to watch over them, but I also thought this was another one of those, the gods playing with them. She should have been at the front. Somehow she forced her to put it at the back. So instead of her watching over the ocean, she's watching the dudes row. And this is like another one of her
oily dudes row.
Yeah, she watched the oily dudes row. And there's a little bit of that in this where like the gods are really playing with them in ways that, are just beneficial to their fun that day,
Side note, is there a Clash of the Titans Atari game? Do you know?
I looked that up. No.
Okay.
So I didn't see a Clash of Titans. Let me see. Atari Clash. There may be something on a different system.
Okay. I'm just looking for an excuse to watch Clash of the Titans.
No, I think Clash of the Titans video game. No. I mean, there might be something that someone did the one thing I could think of would be someone who made
like a homebrew kind of.
A homebrew or like a text adventure or something that was set in that thing. Yeah. But there was no licensed game that I could find. It would have been perfect. I mean, I would have been good to do like Clash of Titans would have been perfect if someone did something like the way they did Raiders Lost Ark adventure game, but as a Clash of the Titans.
I guess I don't even remember when Titans came out.
81. So it was perfect 81? Timing.
So it would have been,
We may have been missing it. If someone wants to tell us that there was one, but we may have missing it. But I don't see one. But what a perfect license.
Yeah.
Like for Atari.
That could have saved them.
They could have saved them. You know why? E.T. came out in Clash of Titans at the same time.
They've just gone a different way.
Exactly.
So Argus and Jason decide they're okay with Hera the figurehead where she is. And now the next day they're loading up. They're going to set sail.
And one thing that we missed when they set sail is Acastus. He's Felis's son.
Oh, we didn't mention that. Yes.
Sent him there to join the pack. And at first I thought that Hylas was Acastus trying to prove that he could throw it better and get on the ship. He just gets on anyway. And so I think it's because Jason recognizes it because he was there within Felis's, doesn't know it's his son though. And he turns out to be the big kind of a bad later. So he gets on the ship and he's with them. He works hard just as anyone else, but he's there to be a spy.
We totally forgot to mention that. Yes, Thank you. And the more I thought about it, I realized that you're right. Jason probably knows something's up with this guy, but he lets him come anyway. So
I think he just needs the help. I mean, he just wants the help, right? I mean, he doesn't know the prophecy of the one-armed and one-legged and one-sandaled man.
The one-armed sandal wearing whatever. Yeah. So now we're going to set sail. So we're going to start getting nice shots of blue water and sunsets and things, and I enjoyed all of that. It's all very pretty. Gods up on Mount Olympus continue to watch. So now that they're headed out, I don't know how long they thought it was going to take to get to the other side of the world, but pretty quickly they're all tired and they're out of water.
And hunger and thirsty.
Yeah.
And I get a little bit of the Bobby, do you like movies about gladiators in this ship scene? Because there's a lot of thirsty men. And it's like, just get some water and food. You know what I mean? Anyway, there's a lot of glistening men. It's like, I know what they were going for, but like, this is like 14-year-old boys are watching this movie. They didn't need a lot of glistening men. They don't
want any of this. Yeah. So however long it's been, they're down to like 3 sips of water a day because they're trying to make their provisions last. And
not good when you're rowing that boat.
No, you're getting thirsty, man. So they have a discussion about, well, maybe we should turn back and go to one of the islands. And Jason's whining that they lose 5 days of rowing time if they did that. Finally decides, all right, I got to ask Hera for help. Got to use one of my 5 shots. So he goes back and starts whispering to the figurehead, and she tells him that she reveals that the guy that he saved who fell off the horse was Peleus.
Right.
And this is a shock to him, apparently.
He didn't know who it was, which is interesting.
She tells him to keep sailing north, and you'll find an island where there have been men making weapons for Zeus.
Right.
And then she tells him something we don't quite hear it. Although I don't know why, because right away he's going to tell the men what's up. So, I put my notes here. This is the first time I noticed that the sail had a ram on it. I don't know.
Oh, yes.
I felt compelled to write it down.
It's very cool. Very cool.
So now Jason tells the crew, okay, we'll find land at noon. We'll be able to fill our bellies. We'll be able to take all the food and water that we want, but nothing else.
Right. And Hercules, not maybe foreshadowing for later, Hercules says, the only thing I'm taking is a woman or something like that. It's like, okay,
he's
Hercules,
like, that doesn't include the women.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jason's like, yes, it does. And then Hercules feels compelled to elaborate, and I'll share it here just because this is what he said. If I meet a girl with a firm leg and a full bosom and a warm heart, let no man stop me.
Yeah, Hercules
is all very cringy.
Hercules. Yeah, I mean, he's been on a lot of travels lately.
He's been on this boat with dudes for a long time.
Yeah, I understand. Hercules is basically like, okay, I gotta let these guys know that I like women. That's basically
just to make it clear, guys.
To make it clear, right? Like, I'm the biggest and baddest.
Cool, but this is what I'm
hanging out with you guys is awesome, but I'm into girls. That's basically what he's trying to say. Yeah, let them know.
And it's hard to figure out if some of this kind of stuff is the movie trying to portray, okay, this is what the gods were like in ancient mythology, and how much is it? This is a 1960s movie, and
right?
This is this is how they.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's why this movie is. It's got 60s written all over it, but also has a lot of it's classic. It's got some classic action in it too, and
yes, absolutely. So now and sure enough, this island's there, and Jason tells everybody, yeah, Hera told me it would be here. And I guess this is when the men start to figure out that he's been talking to his figurehead, and
right,
it's telling him what to do.
It's like, are you crazy, dude? You're talking to a statue, man. We're going here because you talked to a statue. Yeah, they
So they arrive. They all head off the ship to go find food and water as they were told. Hercules and Hylas spot some goats, and they have this brilliant idea. Well, we could get some goats, and that'd be a ready source of water or drink and food. So there's a brief, I guess it's supposed to be comical.
Oh, it's
scene of trying to catch a goat.
Unsuccessful slapstick. I don't understand. It's like,
it really is.
They added some slapstick where Hercules and Hylas, for some reason they can't kill a boar. Is there any kill boars, right? Yeah, goats. No, goats. They can't kill a goat, and they're trying to. It's like, this is Hercules. You can't kill a goat. I think they trip over one another, but it's like it's forces, and then it shows in a very forced perspective way of them being tiny, everything else island being huge, because they make weapons for the gods there.
Yeah,
but it's silly because they need them to stumble into some weapons, basically, right? They need them to stumble. Somebody has to make a mistake. This is another Three's Company part of this one, right?
Yeah,
somebody needs to make a mistake, or something needs to be not told to them.
They're on this quest. Stuff has got to happen on the way of the quest. And this is just one of the things. They need something to occupy their time. So they stumble upon, almost literally, a statue of Talos. I think I looked up Talos earlier, but I don't remember what I found. Did you happen to?
Talos is, let's see, he's a, let me see. Talos is, he's a giant bronze statue. I'm going to take up Talos really quick. Talos he's just an automaton. He was supposed to protect Crete from pirates. So Talos really is nothing but a giant bronze statue. He's not a god. He's a robot, basically. So they did make a robot, and he doesn't represent anything but himself. Unless there might be other stories about that, but in this particular one, he's an automaton.
Yeah, all he does, he's a big bronze statue that circles the island 3 times a day to protect pirates.
Yes, he protects them from pirates, and he basically is he's the giant robot / Godzilla of this movie.
And I will just say here, Talos, my favorite thing in this movie.
Yeah,
I really like this guy,
and he's so cool looking. Holds no bars either.
Yeah, absolutely. But I like the look of him.
Talos,
I like how he moves. I like
this. Would have been my favorite part of the movie when I was a kid, if I was at this point, because you get after sort of this weird. I mean, it's pretty good. There's some action and stuff, but then suddenly the giant robot comes out, and you're like, "Oh,
I'm in."
Here we go.
Yeah,
I'm in. Exactly, I'm in.
But I like how he moves. I like. We aren't there yet, I guess. Spoiler: he's going to start moving. I like the noise that it makes when he moves, and we'll get there in a second, I guess. First, Hercules and Hylas take a moment to be totally in awe of these amazingly huge statues, and they notice that in the base of the statue of Talos, there's a door.
Yes,
and of course, there's a door you gotta go in. So They push the door open, they go in, it turns out it's a treasure chamber of these really, really huge pearls and a thing that Hercules mistakes for a javelin. And Hylas is like, no, dummy, it's a pin for a brooch.
Yeah, exactly. It's a brooch pin, but to him it's a javelin because it's so big.
Yeah. But Hercules likes it anyway, so I guess he's going to take it. And I noticed that I think Hylas took one too, just because Hercules had one. Maybe not.
Might as well, yeah.
So they decide they're going to pick this stuff. They do have a little back and forth. Hylas is like, no, we probably shouldn't do this. And Hercules is like, well, if they were worried about this stuff, they wouldn't have just left it here. Clearly they don't want it. So let's just take it.
One point I have here is at this point in the movie, I'm watching it, and for the biggest, strongest man in the world, Hercules looks just like Judd Hirsch from Taxi. A little bit of a buffer version, but still, it looks just like Judd Hirsch from Taxi. Like it's like I'm thinking about Hercules when I see him.
I didn't mention that at the beginning of the movie, but I was struck when Hercules first appears on screen. I would have pictured him in my head as being younger.
Yes.
This guy is, I don't know if he's our age, but he's at least in his 40s.
Yeah, he
looks good. He looks great. But
he's great for a 60s Hercules.
He's got a very prominent gray beard.
Yeah, he's a 60s Hercules.
And he looks good, but I would have assumed they would have used a younger actor.
Yeah, he's not the 60s. Maybe he's a 60s kind of ripped Judd Hirsch, but still he's a Judd Hirsch.
Maybe, yeah.
Nothing wrong with him either. Great in numbers. Great on the TV show Numbers, if you haven't seen it. And Taxi.
And Taxi. Sorry. You are my second interview in a row to mention Judd Hirsch and Taxi.
Really?
For no real reason other than it just came up. So congratulations.
All right, that's good.
Neither time did it really have anything to do with what we were talking about. It just kind of came up.
Yeah, exactly. Just non sequiturs.
That's the lasting impact of Taxi, I guess.
Exactly, it is lasting impact. Taxi. That and Lot Cut.
That's right. So they get trapped in the base of the statue because now the door is closed. Although it doesn't really last too long because Hercules is Hercules and he gets the door open.
He does figure out a way to get out.
So they think, okay, we're good. We got our javelin. We got our. Does Hylas actually take anything then, or is it just?
I mean, he probably picked some stuff up because I didn't see anything in his hands at this point.
Nice,
but definitely Hercules has like showing his hubris, right? Yes. He's just like, I'm Hercules. I can do whatever I want. So where are the women?
But then, oh my God, the statue's head turns.
Yes, and the statue is to say the statue's large or big or giant doesn't do it service. It is effing huge, and it does like there's not like these. It's pissed and it's huge, and these guys have no chance against it.
And it looks amazing. I love this part of the movie so much.
It's incredible.
Ray, this is really the first, I guess, in the movie. This is the first we're really seeing the stop motion stuff that people think of Ray Harryhausen for. I think he did all the effects in the movie, but I think this is really the first. This is the thing you'd say, okay, that's Ray Harryhausen. So the statue starts walking after him. It never really runs, but and the more I thought about it, I realized he doesn't need to.
He doesn't need to.
He's huge.
Every stride he takes is half a mile. I mean, it's just how big this guy is.
Exactly. Oh, here's another bit in my notes where I go on about how awesome this guy is. I really like this guy a lot. So now back on the beach, the other men are loading the ship with water and food like they were supposed to.
Right.
And here come Hercules and Hylas charging down to the beach, and pretty quickly they all see that Talos is following them. They freak out. They try to get on the ship. They try to, take off, but you can't just, start the motor and go. You got to get in position. You got to start rowing. And like you said, they're really no match for Talos. And I didn't expect this to be the outcome, but Talos basically just reaches down into the water and picks the ship up.
Oh, he just basically shakes them out of the ship and crumbles it into pieces.
Exactly.
He goes to a spot where they're trying to row as quick as they can out of what is a bay. And he has actually positioned himself at the other end of the bay, straddling the ocean so he can pick them up. And I remember from watching Game of Thrones when they go to one of these large outside, I don't know if you know Game of Thrones, but outside of Westeros, they take a boat in the first like season 5 or something of it. And they travel through a giant statue who's straddling the ocean just like this, which is really interesting. Anyway, so I don't know if they saw that and they thought it was cool, but this it's awesome. Anyway, he picks up the ship. He basically tries to kill everyone on this boat. The boat is there are no heroes here.
And I'm a little surprised more people didn't die. There should be more dead people.
They're falling into water. So
I guess. So the ship is destroyed. The guys, Jason, while they're still in the water, Jason finds the figurehead kind of floating there, and Hera speaks to him again. Is basically like, "I told you so, man. You screwed up, and Hercules kind of screwed you guys, and Talos is going to kill you." Jason's like, "Well, I can't fight him. Weapons are useless against bronze men." So Hera gives him a clue. I guess, is this number 2 or 3 of his?
Number 2, I think. They don't keep an active running count, so it's kind of hard to tell. But I think
I kind of tried to, but it wasn't clear.
Well, and they don't really. He doesn't even say it either. I think they wanted to keep it as a MacGuffin, so any time they needed it, they could use it and to kind of.
I guess
not. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he did ask her for a favor. Don't know.
So Hera says, "Well, look to his ankle. I can't tell you anything more than that." And that immediately made me think of an Achilles heel.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Achilles heels in this. And there's a couple of Achilles heels in this.
Right.
But no Achilles.
Right.
With no Ares, we get to it. Talos has an Achilles heel also. I guess what happens is whenever a god picks up a human and dumps him in bronze or in magic, they're always holding them by their feet or whatever. They're not even a human, anything. And so you always have the part where he's holding them to be. And I guess, mostly it's associated with Achilles, right?
Yes.
But it happens with Talos too.
So, and I don't totally understand what's happening here, but they get back to the shore. Jason tells the Argonauts to go hide. They're going to try and entice Talos to come over here. Jason's waiting with his spear. He's going to do something.
Yes. Yes. And they want to get to that ankle.
It takes a while, but Talos approaches. The Argonauts kind of draw his attention, and Jason spots a little circular disc kind of thing on his heel. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but he manages to turn it and opens it's a little portal or a hatch or something, and all this steam starts pouring out. Is that what's going on? I don't quite understand.
Yeah, I guess that's how he basically was like a balloon. He's a bronze statue that acts like a balloon when you open up his. And I noted this as being it's a classic half-naked troop of bronzed men on the beach decoy maneuver. So he can run around to his heel and open up and let out all the steam. And that's basically what happens.
And I don't know why he's full of steam, but he is, and it seems to work.
He's an automaton. Maybe that's how he's powered.
Oh, it could be, I guess. I just assumed he had some sort of magical.
Right. It's magical.
Whatever, but you could be right. Maybe he's a steam-powered Talos. Oh, that sounds cool. I want to see a steam-powered Talos movie now.
I want a Lego steam-powered Talos.
What? Oh, that'd be awesome. I really like this bit because while Jason is doing all this, you get a shot of Talos kind of looking down at him with this expression of like, "Hey, what you doing down there? Hey,
exactly.
What's going on?
What's going on, buddy?"
So all the steam or water comes out, and Talos starts choking, and he starts to crack and fall apart. And
it's not explained why that would do it, but it did. Like
it looks cool, but I don't get it.
I think this is because the gods need to make sure that anything they create, they can also destroy. So like they want to make sure that it can't take them over. So I know this giant automaton that can kill men, everything they do always has some fatal flaw on purpose. And this is the Death Star theory. But they need some way to get rid of this thing. And so if they need to, because they can't have the things they create be able to attack them. And so when you learn about it, he's incredibly fragile, even though he looked like there's no way you could beat him.
Whatever it is, it looks cool.
Yeah.
So as Talos is dying, basically, Hylas notices that Hercules dropped his javelin, his brooch pin.
Yes.
And feels compelled to run out there and get it for his buddy. Bad move.
Bad move. Yes.
Just as Hylas is running out there, Talos is taking his final fall, crushes Hylas. Boom, dead. Yeah. So,
poor Hylas.
Nice knowing you. But
Hercules doesn't realize this, though.
Yeah.
Hercules he wants that brooch pin and he wants his friend.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Hercules. So this is in all the confusion. Hylas is killed, but Hercules doesn't notice that his friend is killed.
Yep, exactly. But then he feels really bad because now they can't find Hylas. And they all assume he's dead. They don't know exactly how, but they just assume he's dead. Hercules is pretty bummed about this, and Jason's like, well, we're going to leave tonight. We'll keep looking till then, but if we don't find him, we're leaving. Hercules says, no, I'm not going anywhere until I find him, and he gets off the boat.
Yeah, and this is the thing. The men are much more loyal to Hercules. They don't really go into this very much, but the men are much more loyal to Hercules than Jason. Yeah. Jason's a guy who got him on the boat, but Hercules is like a war hero, right?
Yeah.
So they actually do not want to leave.
That's right.
Unless Hercules is with them. So they're like, screw your fleece or whatever the hell you're going to look for at the moment, man. Hercules is our buddy. Don't leave.
Yeah. So I guess this is where Jason calls in another favor.
Yeah,
exactly. From her. It's like, we need to go. What can you do? And she tells him, okay, this is your last favor that I'm going to do for you. And then this is when the other men hear the figurehead talking. Hera speaks directly to them.
Right, exactly.
Basically telling them that, give it up. He's dead. Hercules is not going with you. Zeus has other tasks for him.
Yes, and this is where I'm like, what are these tasks? Like, I want to see the next movie of Hercules' task with the same.
Yeah, if I'm 10, I'm already thinking about coming back next week. So I don't know how the movies are made because I'm 10.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm coming back next week to see the Hercules movie. It didn't happen, I guess, but oh well.
We'll have to look and see what these guys made. Maybe anyway. But yeah, they do that, and then basically you have a crushed ship.
Yeah.
And then there's an A-team scene where they're just putting the ship back together. Like,
there's an A-team scene, exactly.
They just complain like Jason is Hannibal. They got a plan, and they put the ship back together, and it's in like about 10 minutes of screen time or 5 minutes of screen time.
Well, B.A. Baracus already left, right? He's Hercules. So
I guess I guess it would have to B.A. would be Hercules, but he usually who mans the welder? Anyway, I think Hannibal mans the welder. So whoever mans the welder needs to weld the ship back together in quotes. They need to hammer this thing back together and get some.
And they build the ship in record time.
Yes.
I can't imagine in ancient Greece building a ship had to have taken months.
It took Argos like years to create the ship, and they use it, and now in about a day they put it back together again.
Exactly. Well, they got plenty of food and water now, and goats.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I guess they're feeling pretty good. So Hera has told them, okay, you got to find Phineas, the blinded man. I don't think she really tells him where to find him. Just go find him.
They say, let's see, I think she mentioned that there'll be where there's no, they just say find Phineas. She just says find Phineas, and I don't know if she mentions the Harpies at that point or not, but they say find Phineas. They must know where Phineas is. It must be well known where Phineas
maybe
is.
Maybe that's a well-known name. I don't know. But now we cut to a new place. We're in a new place. It's some sort of temple or ruined something or other, and we see an old blind man. Well, first we see a couple people leave a plate of food on a table, grapes and fruit and bread and stuff, and then they walk away. And then this old blind guy comes out and starts chowing down. He's eating this food. But all of a sudden, this winged something or other, which I later learned is called a harpy.
With a blood-curdling scream.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
I was like, what the F is that? And it's like, oh, it's harpy. Right.
Exactly. So they start coming in, and well, first he tries to shove as much food in his pockets as he can. Yeah, because he apparently knows what's up. And he's trying to bat these harpies away and stuff. And they finally scare him off, and they start eating the food.
Right.
And the guy is just crushed. He's like, Lord Zeus, I was a sinner. I never tried to deny it, but I didn't. I love this line. I didn't sin every day. Why do you punish me every day? That's a good rule. I didn't do anything bad today. So
okay, because he doesn't use his gift of prophecy the way he's supposed to. That's all. So he was doing He was using the gift of prophecy probably to bet on some sort of Trojan carriage races or something like that.
We don't know exactly what he did, but he misused his abilities somehow.
Yes.
I just like the idea of, well, I didn't do anything bad on this day. So
on this day, right. That's why you keep on punishing him.
So he feels bad, but then the Argonauts show up, and they have this little back and forth. Phineas knows who Jason is apparently too, because Zeus has given him the gift of prophecy. He explains all that. The gods have ordered me, Phineas says, to tell you, Jason, whatever you want to know, but they've gone too far with me, so I defy you. So he's like, okay, I'll tell you what you need to know, but only if you kill these harpies. Get rid of these harpies that are bothering me. So Jason and the Argonauts are like, okay, we'll do it.
I'll tell you one thing about, when we did Greek mythology in school, they always had harpies on the rocks trying to scream or whatever it was. And I thought, I thought they were like, I mean, I know they have pretty women that are on the rocks that make you go to the rock. I forget what their name is. But I thought harpy, to me, I was like, that's another one of these Greeks filled with attractive women, right? No, the harpies are not that. Harpies are
no, definitely not.
They're like winged devils that screech.
Yeah.
Like it's
awful.
Terrifying for a small child to watch this movie.
Yeah. I mean, they look good as far as special effects go, but they're just awful to listen to. So they come up with this plan to lay out some food. They entice the harpies to come back, and then all the Argonauts are waiting up on top of this. I don't know what this thing is. The structure of some sort.
It's like a kind of probably a temple, but it kind of looks like it's burnt out a little bit, broken down a little bit.
And they release this huge net over the top of these harpies and trap them in the net.
They don't explain where they get this net or if they made it either, because where did this net come from?
Too.
They A-teamed it together too, right? Exactly.
So they catch them. It seems pretty easy, actually.
Pretty easy, barely an inconvenience. Yeah, they just kill the harpies. They capture the harpies. And I want to say that, like, Phineas's life before Jason shows up is pretty awful. So the way he said, like, they're pulling no punches with it. You know, it's like he either ate a morsel and got attacked by harpies. That's all his life was.
Jason's like, okay, we did this. We need to know how to get to Caucasus. Now,
yes.
Caucasus?
This is where the fight. Yeah, this is where the fleece is supposed to be on Colchis. I think it's Colchis, but I think it's Colchis.
Yep. So Phineas is like, okay, you go this way and that way, and it'll take you 5 days. I think that's what he says. And then he wants to know, well, okay, so what gods are protecting you? You know, kind of like, what insurance do you have? And Jason's like, well, I don't have any now. And Phineas is like, well, you're not going to make it past the crashing rocks then. Crashing rocks, right? Is that what he said?
Yeah, these rocks are, the crashing rocks.
Jason's like, and this is pretty good too. Jason's like, well, what are those? And Phineas is like, speaks for itself, doesn't it? So he's kind of a smart ass.
So, yeah, exactly.
He's got his food now. He feels pretty good. Phineas is like, okay, well, fine. This is all I have. I can give you this. And he hands Jason a figurine that had been hanging around his neck. I guess do we get a quick shot of the figurine at this
Triton.
point?
It's Triton. Or Poseidon, but it's the Greek god of the sea or whatever. Triton. Yeah,
exactly.
We do get a little look at it. It's a small little figurine around his neck. Which you think? Just what I'm thinking is, if he had this figurine, couldn't he have used it to stop the harpies from attacking? Anyway, maybe not.
Maybe other than Poseidon's the god of the ocean, god of the water. Maybe he doesn't work on land. I don't know.
Good point. Yeah.
As Jason and everybody's leaving, we get a quick shot of the harpies now in a cage, and there's this, I guess, witty banter about how, Phineas, now you're the one eating the feast and throwing scraps to the harpies, which he does. He chucks a bit of food to the harpies, and they go nuts trying to eat.
Yes, but they still won't shut up. The harpies won't shut up, and all these people eat is fruit and wine. That's got to be really bad after a while on the digestive system. I mean, it's good with it, but I mean, you got to have some meat somewhere.
It's actually a little creepy, but that's the end of that bit. So now the Argo has set sail again. There's a quick shot, and I'm only mentioning this because it's the first time I noticed it. On the side of the ship, there's an eye painted there. Was that always there?
And like a human eye, right?
I think so.
If it was there, it probably was there already, but we didn't see it till now. Yeah,
I just hadn't seen it. Yeah, exactly. So now they have, I guess, followed Phineas's directions, and they're approaching an island rather. And Argus says something about how there's not much water here. Either they say, or I noticed watching the movie, it gets really, really quiet.
Yes.
There's no music. There's no sound really going on. They kind of wonder what the gods of the sea are up to. Ardo's a little nervous because the sea gods are dangerous, and tells everybody, save your strength, we're going to need it. And then they see another ship, and everything looks okay. Well, that ship's doing all right. I guess everything's cool. But then the rock slide starts. The ship is traveling between these two islands, I guess. Not mountains.
Yeah, mountains. It looks like they're going through some sort of
structures. And then the rock slides on both sides start. And it's just pounding this other ship, with rocks. And a bunch of people fall overboard. The ship ends up sinking. And then it's all of a sudden it's quiet again. Just as quickly as it started, it's done. So the Argonauts are kind of taking this in. They're trying to figure out, do we go forward? Do we turn around? Jason's like, well, there's no turning around on this voyage. We're going to go ahead, of course. And he makes a comment about how the gods want their entertainment.
Right, exactly.
Cut to Zeus saying, yeah, we do want our entertainment, basically.
Exactly.
But he's mad at Jason for going too far, for acknowledging it. Right. How dare Jason say that? Hera says, well, he speaks the truth. And I guess because Zeus is kind of annoyed now, he starts another rock slide.
Right.
Somebody.
Right. This is odd.
So now the Argo is in the rock slide. Argus wants to turn around. Jason is, looking at his Poseidon figure, I think. Maybe this is where we first get the first shot that, yeah, indeed, it is a Poseidon figurine. Up on Olympus, Zeus and Hera are looking at their game board, seeing where everybody is.
Exactly.
Zeus is like, well, you're trapped now, huh? And Hera's like, I guess I really only have one move. And she pushes a Poseidon figurine onto the game board. Poseidon has entered the game now. Back on Earth, Jason is really mad about the gods screwing with him, basically. And he takes this figurine that Phineas gave him and chucks it into the water. We all kind of pause for a second. Ooh, what's going to happen? And the sea starts to boil. And here comes Poseidon up out of the water. It looks really cool, actually. This dude with a crown and a fishtail pops up out of the water. He stands, I guess, and puts one arm on either side on these rock formations and kind of holds everything steady so that the ship can get through. And then he retreats beneath the waves. Did I miss anything?
It's interesting because we're not quite sure in this. I mean, if Hera's putting Poseidon on the game board, or it was a combination of that and Jason throwing the idol in the water. Which one summoned Poseidon? May have needed both. But
yeah, I don't know. I just wondered if maybe Hera putting the figure on the board compelled Jason somehow.
That could have been it, right? Could have been it.
But it's hard to know which one prompted the other.
Like she could do that without giving him that was the only way to give him a hint or help him without talking to him. Right?
That could be. So just as quickly as Poseidon popped up, he goes beneath the waves again. I thought that all looked pretty cool.
It looked really good.
I like that part.
That was my second favorite part at this point of the special effects was Poseidon coming out. It's like, yeah, it was really cool.
Yep. Hera kind of needles Zeus a little bit. Jason dared to speak of the end of the gods. You're going to let him live? And Zeus is like, well, I can't punish every blasphemy. I think mostly Zeus is just having fun with the game. He doesn't want the game to end yet.
Let's see. There's one thing. Oh, so at this point, so the special effects of Poseidon are awesome, but the bathtub that the gods are looking at the ship in is hilarious. Like they're looking at the ship running like in like somebody's bathtub. So and that's where she puts the Poseidon on the game board. But there are a couple classic quotes here, not literary quotes, but quotes about them from the movie that are pretty interesting. I don't have exact one. The references to gods need men to believe in them for the gods to exist. And that's Hera and Zeus talking about that. Like without Hera's basically saying to Zeus, like, if men don't believe in you, you don't exist. Like, you don't need to be here. And I think he's trying to prove that, no, I could be here without it. So, but really it is true that, unless he gets his power from men and women or man believing in him.
So now they've made it through the rock slides. The Argonauts are really tired. They're just kind of chilling for a minute. But then they spot a woman floating on a piece of wood, basically, a survivor from the other ship. So they pull her aboard. They give her the bad news that, basically hardly anybody survived from the other ship. They asked her when she sailed from Colchis, and she says, well, we just left at dawn today. So Jason's all excited because that means they're really close.
Yeah, they're very close. And this is Medea, who I think now her father in this movie is King Aeetes of Colchis.
Mm-hmm.
In Greek mythology, she's the niece of Circe and the granddaughter of the sun god Helos.
Oh,
and she's also a total babe. I had to say that twice because last time I didn't. It's been a while since I said it, but Nancy Kovac plays, and then you can see why Jason would be taken with her. Like he's
definitely. Like, I kind of question them falling in love this quickly, but I mean that's quick. A movie thing.
It's pretty quick. He's only 20 though. Maybe he does.
So Jason's introduced himself. The woman is surprised that they came all the way from Thessaly on the other side of the world. These places that are on the other side of the world seem to know a lot about each other.
Right.
It's kind of weird.
Right. I mean, to them, the other side of the world just happens to be just basically from the Mediterranean to the Atlantic, I think.
Well, that's a good point. That's a
Yeah.
good point. And she's like, well, I mean, you don't look like a merchant. This doesn't look like a fighting ship. And Jason says, well, we were sent by the gods. Your king fears the gods, but it's okay because we're here in peace. I need to talk to your king, but we come in peace. The woman explains, well, we're on our way to make a sacrifice to our gods in the name of peace, basically. And this is where she actually introduces herself, that her name is Medea. She's a priestess, and explains how they worship a being with the skull and skin of a ram, and it has a fleece of gold. So,
That's why they have the golden
all right,
fleece.
now we've got the golden fleece coming into the story. So now they got to say what to do. The men are like,
Now, one thing about this is that her entire being and her, she's a priestess, is of this golden fleece, and the entire, I guess, island or her entire civilization worships it.
Yep.
So her next moves are a little questionable. Anyways, this is what I'm saying. So,
yeah, she does kind of give up on all of that pretty quick.
She does.
But I mean, Jason is a pretty good looking dude. So
yeah, Jason. There. That's where you get to the yeah. That's the fallacy of this movie. Right?
So now they got to say what their next move is going to be. The Argonauts are like, okay, when do we attack? And Jason's like, no, we're not going to attack. We're not pirates. I'm just going to go alone and figure out, kind of scope things out.
Right.
And one of the guys is like, well, why don't you take a scouting party? Jason says, well, the fewer that go, the less that can get caught. And then Acastus.
Yes, Acastus. Acastus. So that would be Felius. What's his name? This is his son. The traitor, really.
He speaks up.
Felius. Yeah, Felius' son.
And he's like, well, we could attack at night, seize the guards, and take the fleece. And somehow they go pretty quickly from that to Jason thinking that this guy is trying to betray him. And I missed the connection to Jason suddenly realizing this guy's an enemy.
I think that he doesn't want any dissenters. Like, all I get is that from their thing is like, oh, you don't like my plan? Get off my ship. And he gets off he doesn't, jumps off the ship. Yeah, it was weird. It was like
so they have a big sword fight. Basically an excuse to have a big sword fight on the ship. So they go through that a little bit. Jason, I think, gets a cut on his arm, and Acastus ends up jumping off the ship, swims away. Another guy does actually jump off to kind of swim after him, and they have this fight in the water.
Yeah.
And Acastus ends up killing this other guy.
Yeah. So Jason's most loyal servants seem to be getting killed a lot in this movie.
Yeah, on Jason's arm. So the next morning, it's the next morning, and Medea's using this local flower to heal Jason's cut on his arm. Really, it's just a moment for them to kind of look in each other's eyes and have this sort of moment. And now we're at a ceremony where it's going to be basically a bunch of women dancing again.
Yes,
it's a ceremony.
A very good choreography of their dance. Very well chosen choreography, and a well chosen set of actresses to dance.
Indeed.
Good job.
And this is where Jason finds out, holy crap, Medea's a priestess.
Yeah,
she's a very important person in this culture here. And now we're going to meet King Aeetes.
Aeetes, yeah.
Yeah, he walks in with his entourage. Medea announces that Jason is here. Jason has gone by himself, by the way. He has not brought the Argonauts.
Nobody's with him, yeah.
Yeah, he is declared to be a hero, I guess, for saving Medea. And he's invited to this feast. The king is like, bring your men. We're going to have a big feast. You're a hero. This is awesome. The king asks him, why are you here? Jason says, well, I'm here in peace. King doesn't say, it says, well, I didn't ask you how. I said, why are you here? And he makes some comment about how anyone who comes in deceit stays here in death. And Jason actually, which I thought was maybe a bad move, he brings up the fleece right away.
Yeah, right away.
I think I would have held back on that information if it was me.
Jason doesn't have a lot of game.
He really doesn't.
No.
And at the mention of the fleece, the king flips out. He's like, the fleece has brought our society peace. And clearly you're here to ruin that. And the Argonauts aren't heroes, they're pirates. We give our thanks to the king of Peleus of Thessaly. And then Acastus enters the room.
Right. And so at this point, though, all of Jason's men have arrived at the party.
Oh, I didn't mention that. Yes, all the Argonauts are there now.
Yeah.
Clearly, we're learning here Acastus has gotten there ahead of them and has planted all these ideas in the king's head about how evil the Argonauts are.
Yes.
So they all get captured. They're all hauled away to be imprisoned. Medea is having a crisis of conscience here. She's like, boy, I really, these guys are not traitors, they're not pirates, but if I give them the fleece, then I'll be a traitor to my world. But if I don't give it to them and let them die, then I'm a traitor to myself. And man, what am I going to do? She clearly doesn't stew on this very long. Because
no, it doesn't stew on. She just wants some Jason. She wants some Jason action. I think it basically is what happens.
Yeah. So, because the next thing we see is a bunch of passed out guards.
Right.
They don't really explain it. I assume she has drugged them or something.
Let's see.
Or are they drunk from the party or what?
Oh, so it says, I wrote that Medea does the old steal the keys while the guards are drunk in a sleep trick. Yeah. So that's basically
that's what I wrote.
It's a film. The guards everyone gets drunk, and the guards are not supposed to get drunk because later on when the king is told that they got drunk and were asleep, she's pissed off. So they just, as guards do.
So she gets the keys.
When you need them to get drunk in a movie, so you can steal keys. Yeah.
So she gets the key. She gets Jason out, frees the Argonauts. She begs Jason, just give it up, just go home. Things are messed up enough as it is. Jason, of course, says, no, I'm not going to do that. I think the idea is he's not going to leave the other Argonauts there.
Nope. She wants to just go. She's thinking, let's just go together. Just you and I. He's all, no, bros before hoes, babe. Anyway, sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. So Medea finally is like, fine, I will help you get the fleece, but then you have to take me with you because I have no country anymore, and I love you. It's one of those moments.
Yes, it is, and there's a lot of moments when Hera's looking down at this, getting jealous and angry because
a little bit. Yeah. So then they free the Argonauts. The Argonauts take off to the ship to get that ready, and Jason and Medea, I guess, are headed off to get the fleece. One of the guards has woken up now, like you said, and tells the king they've escaped. King wants to know where Acostus is, but he's not in his quarters. What's going on?
Nope. He's and there's a point where the king gets up and starts to run, and I swear he's wearing tube socks with stripes on them under his guard. Like that was the day. I don't even know if that were a thing in the 60s, but it totally looks like he's wearing them. And there's a lot of places in this movie where they didn't, maybe the costumes were 100%. So really some guys are just wearing tidy whities it doesn't always look like they're wearing the Greek garb they're supposed to, but in general, it's done really well. So.
Well, like you said, there were parts of this movie where really they probably should be naked because that's how it would be, but they couldn't do that either. So now Medea has led Jason to the tree with the golden fleece, and really it's just a ram's head skull with some fleece on it. It's gold.
And the fleece is white. Well, at some point it's white too. It changes color to white when Jason gets near it, as if he's not supposed to have it. I don't know if this is true or not in the story, but it's golden, and then he gets near it, and it flushes out white. I didn't know if that was part of the movie or not, but it does look like him near it. It's not special anymore. He has to fight for it to be special, or for him to be the owner of it. The fleece kind of turns white when Jason gets near it. I think that might be because until he kills the Guardians, the fleece is not his. He can't. It's not his. He can't just run away with it. He has to actually kill. He has to actually retrieve it and make it his own.
So just as Jason's about to get the fleece, a Hydra appears. I didn't know what that was called either until I looked it up. But it's a multi-headed snake.
Multi-headed snake, exactly.
Yeah, and we see that it is holding Acostus, who I guess is already dead, presumably, right?
Acostus was killed by the Hydra, yes.
Wrapped up in his tail, he's just kind of laying there. It's good dead acting, I thought, on the part of this actor. Jason spends a long time swinging at this thing with his sword, which
Jason does a lot of swinging in this movie, hitting nothing. It's a lot of swinging. I think it's because the choreography of him swinging and then adding in the double exposure to have the thing there. You can't. There's no way he's going to hit anything, but it looks cool. It's just he's very. For a guy who was sent across the world with his sword, he's really bad with his sword. Yes. Anyway.
I agree. So there's this long sequence of that kind of stuff. Snake tangles him up in his tail at one point, but Jason's able to get away. Ultimately, he's able to stab the Hydra.
Yes.
He does finally connect. The snake makes a kind of a shrieking noise and then drops dead.
And supposedly at this point, all of the men that the Hydra killed come back as skeletons, but there's only 7. So I don't know. This is what. So I don't know if it's that or if it's the 17th of the Hydra. There's conflicting.
Well, yeah. So
information about that.
The Hydra drops dead. The Argonauts show up. The other soldiers show up. Jason sends Argo away with the fleece to get away with that. Costas is dead. The Argonauts run away with Argo. The king says some jazz about basically praying to his god, his queen of darkness,
or something, the queen of the children, or something like that, or the god of protector of the hearth, or something like that. So
I wrote, and I'm sure this is incorrect. Hecate, queen of darkness.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Anyway,
whatever. Okay. Let's see. Let me see here. It could be queen of darkness. Let's see. Keys. Yeah, she's shown with the keys, torches, dogs, and snakes. It doesn't matter really, but yes, it's a god. There's a goddess that he prays to that's protecting the that also protects the fleece.
So now all these fireballs start raining down from the sky, sets this Hydra on fire, burns it to nothing except for the skeleton, and the soldiers all pick up all the teeth of this all the various skulls. The king says something about how against the children of the Hydra's teeth there is no protection. Cut to Jason and Medea. They're running to the ship. An archer shoots Medea in the back with an arrow. She drops dead. And Jason tells Argus to use the fleece to heal her because it has healing powers.
Yeah, it turns out the fleece can do almost anything, which is great.
Apparently. I wondered if this whole time they're sitting there healing Medea, doesn't the archer have another arrow in his bag?
Probably, but it's a movie, right? I just think that there's a lot of instances in this movie where things happen in a time frame that is either slowed down or sped up unrealistically. There's a lot of that.
Exactly. So they hit the beach, and the king and his men show up, and he's got all the teeth, using one of the skulls, Hydra skulls, as a bowl.
Right.
He starts throwing teeth around like planting seed in your garden. And there's a lot of great shots of the Argonauts just watching this guy do this. Like, what the hell is he doing?
Yeah.
They don't try to run or anything. They just kind of stand there and watch
him. They're like, what's this crazy man doing?
Yeah. Jason does send Medea and the Argonauts away. Says, look, go get to the ship. Although a couple of them stay behind. And now we get a scene that, I'll be honest, I was kind of disappointed in, frankly.
The skeleton fight.
It should be really cool. But so here's what actually happens. The ground starts to rumble a little bit. And then one by one, these skeletons with swords and shields pop out of the ground.
This is not the classic 30s Sinbad and the Seven Seas skeleton fight. This is a whole other skeleton fight. It looks just okay. And a lot of other misses by Jason again. He's missing. He does eventually hit them with the back of his sword and pushes them, but he isn't ever hit with a swipe. He's not a good at swiping with the sword. What I wondered is how do you fight a skeleton with a sword? I mean, you have to knock it apart, right?
I guess, Right. But I was disappointed only because in my head, having never seen this movie before, in my head, because I'd heard about it and I knew, and you see clips over various things, clips of the Ray Harryhausen skeletons or whatever. I imagined that this scene was like a whole army of skeletons,
an epic army. That's what I said. Yeah. I read a thing where it said like the skeleton, and this may be me mixing what I read with the movie, but the skeletons were supposed to represent all the people that, like I said, that the Hydra had killed, and there's only 7, and I'm all, wait a minute. And so like then it was the teeth. It's the teeth. It doesn't make sense. You'd think there would be an army of skeletons protecting this thing, not 7.
Were there a bunch of duds in the teeth that just didn't pop?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And it has a lot of heads too. You think there'd be a lot more teeth.
Well, yeah. But at any rate, the ones that are there,
a disappointing skeleton fight.
Yeah, they look good. The ones that are there. I was disappointed that it wasn't a bigger deal.
It was a little bit like, okay, we spent our budget, we got 7 skeletons for this.
That might be what it is. So there's a little bit of a sequence of this fighting these skeletons. The Argonauts are doing okay at first. Well, I wrote that, and then I looked up, and a guy died. So I said, well, okay, except for one guy. Jason ultimately gets cornered, I think, and he jumps into the water.
Yeah, there's a bunch of practical effects here that when they jump in the water, that are pretty good. Like someone jumped in that water with some skeletons next to him, like physical skeletons. Yeah. They look good. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was not stop motion. It was pretty. It wasn't excellent, but it was practical. It was, at that point. So
Jason starts swimming towards the ship, Hera is telling Zeus, okay, he's getting away. I think that means I'm a worthy opponent. I'm kind of winning this game.
Right.
And
this is where Zeus gives her the dollar from the end of Trading Places, says, "You won the dollar." Like
exactly.
That's like this whole thing.
And she's like, okay, I guess we're done. I'm gonna go clear the board. Game's over. And Zeus, I guess because he wants to watch this, he's like, well, we're not quite done yet. And then we get a shot of Jason and Medea smooching, basically.
Yeah, I think Zeus was hoping for the R-rated portion of the film to show up. This is a G-rated film, by the way. This film is
but he says some stuff about Zeus says some stuff about, well, let's let him have a moment. I have other adventures planned for Jason.
Right. And this is what I was thinking, that line and the one for Hercules, and well, did they plan more movies? Like yeah, I mean, to me, I don't know. This was the reception of this is like across the board, good reviews and everything. So it's like, I don't think there was I don't think they made any sequels to this.
I don't think so.
I'll have to look.
And that's the end of the movie. Roll credits. So my first thought was he didn't go back and kill Peleus. They didn't wrap up.
Not in this though, right? So he has the fleece. The fleece will protect him from anyone who's trying to attack him. So he can basically kill Peleus as he needs to. But maybe the one sandal thing is going to happen. It was going to happen in the next movie, right?
I suppose that never, like you said, never happened. But all that in mind, that there were probably sequels planned that we didn't get to see. What do you think?
Well, I watched it during end of a work day. The work day was not very good, but the movie was fantastic. So like I was like having sort of a bad, like just those bad days where like things just weren't going in. And I go, I'm watching this now, and I'm watching it. I think I sent you a text message saying this movie rocks. Like it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and it was very much like the adventure that I needed. Yes, the special effects are great for the time. Right now, they're not incredible, but like I said, break open Crackle. It's free to watch on any streaming platform and watch this movie. It's good.
Exactly.
The 2600 game about it is ridiculous.
The game is not great.
It's a combination of Breakout and Space Invaders, which you think would be a great combination, but it's not. I mean, it's just
the game. If they didn't tell you it was supposed to be Jason and the Golden Place, how would you know? And it really doesn't matter. So
I would have thought it was the new Tron Deadly Discs. Yeah. Like you're throwing a disc up at the ceiling and things are falling down or something.
Exactly. So yeah, don't go to the game expecting this movie, and don't expect this movie to reflect really what's in the game. So
yeah, the movie much better than the game.
Yes, the movie I was entertained. I'm happy I saw it because that's a movie that you hear about. You always hear about, but you never actually watch, and I'm glad that I finally did. So
I'm glad I'm glad I saw it, because now I have one film to recommend. Like people ask, what's a great movie from the 60s, or what's something you can watch for the family? G-rated movie.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. Like there's not a waste of time in this hour and 47 minutes.
No.
Didn't seem like an hour and 47 movie or 47-minute movie. It seemed like it was about an hour and 10 or something like that. So
I agree.
Yeah, good film.
Good time. Like I said, I was a little disappointed with the skeleton fight. I thought that should be a bit more epic, but what was there looked good. I would watch a whole other movie with Talos in it.
I was hoping maybe there's no movie you can watch about this, but if they made another one, I would watch it too. Like this is like I think they had something going here where they could have made another couple of movies, and they didn't seem to happen. I looked to see about what was Zeus' plans for Jason. So it says, why did Zeus intervene with Jason and the Argonauts? This is Aeetes asked Zeus to punish Medea and Jason in order to get revenge for his son's unfair death. I don't know who the son is. There's something about this in the mythology that is all twisted around. So we don't have to read this to find out what really was supposed to happen. Yeah. There's a lot more to this story that they've sort of, squeezed down in what they did for the movie. But anyway.
No, I am kind of curious to go back and read. I know I read some of the stuff when I was a kid in school, and it does kind of make me feel like, well, I should go read some of this and see how it matches up.
Definitely a good time, Bill. Thank you for inviting me to do this. I know it took 2 hours, and you're going to have to cut this down to 30 minutes or something.
No, I'll probably put the whole thing out. It's a little Christmas present for the people.
Yeah.
Hi, this is 8-Bit Rocket, Jeff Fulton from the Into the Vertical Blank Generation Atari podcast. And you are listening to the incomparable William Pepper and his wonderful stories of the game within a game on the Atari Bytes podcast. When you are done here, come visit us in the Vertical Blank. Now, back to Bill.
For years, Dogwater Hunt, alien abductee, many times over, has scanned the skies, waiting for the aliens to return to his hometown of Santa Claus, Indiana. Yes, it's a real place. This year, on Christmas Eve, Dogwater believes it will happen. Dogwater's friend, Cameron Jones, a successful novelist, is struggling with writer's block. A talking goldfish, that's normal, isn't it? And a battle with his ex-wife over her plan to move to England with their 5-year-old daughter. Meanwhile, up at the North Pole, Santa himself has got his own problems. After centuries of being jolly, the constant tide of kids who believe, then don't anymore, is wearing on him. So he quits, hangs up the red suit, and is Kringle no more. Where does he go? Santa Claus, Indiana, obviously. The story of how these three men are thrown together is told in the novel In the Saint Nick of Time, written by the guy you've been listening to this whole episode. It's about time there was a Santa Claus story for adults, so he wrote one. Will these guys save Christmas? Probably. That's how these books work. But you gotta read it to find out how. Go to www.carnivalofgleecreations.com for more information about the book and some of the places you can order it. Happy holidays! And that's our show. Huge thanks to Jeff Fulton for hanging out with me during movie time. I know you're already listening to Into the Vertical Blank, but if you're not by chance, do go fix that, because you should be. Thanks to Kevin McLeod at Incompetech.com for Creative Commons use of his songs Reformat, Take a Chance, and Pinball Spring. Thanks to Sean Courtney for the Storytime theme. Head over to Apple Podcasts and, like Zeus, passing edicts from on high, proclaim that the humans shall henceforth listen to Atari Bytes. Alternately, if you'd rather just send me a Talos action figure, I'd be okay with that too. Talos is so cool. Email the show at ataribytes2016@gmail.com. Like the show on our Facebook page, follow the show on Twitter at Atari Bytes, or follow me personally on Twitter at Carnival of Glee. I'm also at Carnival of Glee on Hive and Mastodon and Tumblr, and I'm still trying to figure all those sites out, but I am over there, and I'm looking for followers, so please do. You can also call. I'm never going to answer the phone. That hasn't changed for the new year, but you can leave a voicemail, 563-265-1978. Call me, and I'm dying to hear from you. Check out the website, carnivalofgleecreations.com, which has info about this show, about It's a Podcast, Charlie Brown, about books that I've written, other stuff that I've done. I haven't looked in there lately. Maybe there are naked photos of me. I don't know. Seriously, if there are, stay away. Consider supporting the show over there at the Atari Bytes page on patreon.com. It helps me out. It's a nice thing to do. It also lets you join an exclusive club with these guys who all have my eternal gratitude. Michael Tyler, Jose Cazeta, Sean Courtney, M. West, Jeremy L., Mark Super, Jim Goebel, and Robert Ferguson. Thanks to one and all. All right, that's about it. Next time will be a brand new year for all of us. It will also be a new year for the podcast, actually. I believe the show started in January of 2016, and the next episode will drop in January of 2023, which makes the show, yikes, 7 years old. So you would think I would have actually gotten good at it by now. In honor of that anniversary, we're, well, really not doing anything anniversary related, actually. We are instead just playing a game, and that game is Time Warp for the 2600. I know absolutely nothing about it, but I saw the name Time Warp, and I'm a sucker for time travel stuff. So I was like, well, I gotta play this game. I will probably end up being hugely disappointed, but I hope not. So come on along and find out if my soul is crushed or if I am shocked and amazed to not be totally beside myself with grief over choosing this game. It'll be exciting, folks, and I hope you're there in 2023 for that episode and beyond. And I hope that you all have a lovely New Year's, happy and safe, and everything that you could hope. while you're making your list of New Year's resolutions, you should add to that list that you will go play some old games. They've missed you.